Do you miss the days when superhero games were fun and simple 2D beat 'em ups? Well, you have a whole new one here with Marvel Cosmic Invasion. Back in the good old days before we had our Insomniac Spider-Mans and our Batman Arkhams, you'd only ever really see superhero games be one of two genres. You'd see them in fighting games, such as the Marvel vs. Capcom series, and you'd see them in 2D beat 'em ups. Games like the 1992 X-Men game and Batman Returns are exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. Pretty much just take Streets of Rage and slap superheroes over the top, and boom, you have yourself a 1990s superhero game. We don't see too many games in this genre anymore, superhero or otherwise, so when Marvel Cosmic Invasion was announced, I became very excited at the chance for a bit of a throwback. Marvel Cosmic Invasion is developed by Tribute Games, the same developers that made TMNT Shredder's Revenge a few years back, and has been released on PC, PS4 and 5, Switch 1 and 2, and Xbox Series consoles. Let's go into what the game's about, and whether or not it lives up to its retro heritage. To kick it off, let's start with what the story of this game is about. If you've read the 2000s Marvel event series called Annihilation, then you'll know exactly what you're getting here, since the game is pretty much entirely based on that event. If you haven't read it, because chances are you probably don't read comic books, then I'll sum it up for you. Annihilus has begun his attempt to reign over the entire universe with his Annihilation Wave, sending his servants to take over all notable locations in the Marvel Universe and attempting to take control over many of the people within it. It's up to our roster here of 15 heroes and anti-heroes to go through level after level, save these places and other people from Annihilus's conquest, and take him down to save the whole universe. If that sounds pretty basic and bare bones for a video game plot, that's because it honestly is. The story never delves any deeper on this or expands on the story, but that's just not what this game is about. During the story mode, the only times you're actually gonna see any story happen are at the beginning and end of a level when you get a little intro and outro. These are pretty much just the characters saying that they're going to said location and we have to take down the bad thing of this level. It's better than just going from one level to the next with no context between, but I'll be fully honest that if you want any kind of story at all from your superhero games, then this might not be the one for you. This game is all about the gameplay. You're only really going to be doing one thing in this game, and that's pretty much just punching and hitting dudes. As a classic style beat 'em up, you're going to be going through the levels and taking on enemy after enemy until you get to the level's boss and defeat them. Each level will have you take in 2 of the 15 characters on offer, and each hero has a fairly universal but slightly varying moveset. Every single character in the game has a basic attack string, which will be the bread and butter of your combat. You also have a powered attack button, which is your secondary attack button, and lets you do a unique action to each character. Captain America will throw his shield, Rocket Raccoon will throw a random grenade, She-Hulk will grab the enemy, and Nova will shoot out a blast, just to name a few. Every character also has the ability to jump and has a unique jumping attack, but some characters such as Iron Man or Nova actually have the ability to fly and are able to perform aerial combos. You can switch out which of the 2 characters you have out on the field, and if you combine this button with one of your attack buttons, you can actually perform an assist move. And lastly, you have your character's ultimate attack for big damage, as long as your focus meter is charged. There are only 3 resources you need to manage in combat. The first is health, which you can pick up food to regenerate and also attack enemies Bloodborne style to replenish recently lost health, your focus for your ultimate attack, and your counter for your powered attacks, which will regenerate over time. That's all there is to the gameplay. There's no weapons to pick up during levels, no extra moves to unlock or long combos to perform. The gameplay feels very tight and works really well, but it is definitely kept on the basic side. Every single tool here is useful, and it doesn't really feel like the game is missing anything in its formula, but if you want a beat 'em up with a lot of depth as the game goes on, then you might need to look elsewhere. So I've talked about what you do in the gameplay, but let's talk about how you'll be doing it. Story mode is your main part of the game here, and in it you'll go through 16 different levels ranging from the streets of New York to Wakanda, Genosha, and even all the way to Asgard. Each level has a recommended team to take on the mission, not just for gameplay purposes, but because each level in the story mode actually has 3 optional challenges you can complete and a cosmic cube to find to accrue a resource you can spend on unlocking extra things in the main menu. These challenges are actually pretty fun and do give some replay value to the stages so that you have a reason to want to play them again, and it helps that the fun things you unlock are things like songs from the soundtrack and extra outfit colours for your heroes. Arcade mode is your alternative game mode here, which is true to the name, very much styled like what if this game was on an arcade cabinet. You'll go through the levels in a linear order and pick your paths, trying to make it as far into the game as you can. One of the rewards you can unlock that I mentioned earlier is actually modifier rule sets for this arcade mode that can have effects such as free play where there are no game overs, super attacks costing health instead of focus, and faster enemies. As you play through and beat levels, your characters will gain XP and level up to a max of level 10. Each level a character gets, they'll gain a boost to something, most often HP, but sometimes an upgrade to their focus bar, and every character will gain a passive skill unique to them at a certain level. This means that you can either play through levels with the recommended teams and have a fairly even spread of leveling, or you can forego the level challenges and just focus on a handful of characters you like to level them up quickly and boost their stats. One thing I really enjoyed was going back and replaying the levels with whichever characters I liked after beating the game, and just having a fun time with it since my characters were decently leveled and I'd finished most of the challenges already. Speaking of the heroes, the roster for this game is Captain America, Iron Man, Black Panther, She-Hulk, Spider-Man, Venom, Wolverine, Storm, Phoenix, Beta Ray Bill, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Rocket Raccoon, Nova, Phyla-Vell, and Silver Surfer. This makes a pretty balanced roster of old school fan favourites from the 90s, some modern favourites, and a couple of oddball picks that I really appreciate. I mean seriously, how many Marvel games actually include my boy Beta Ray Bill? One thing I really like about this game is the fact that it blends together 90s and current Marvel in a perfect way. Each character has 8 different colour schemes that can be unlocked, and some of them are such good modern favourites of mine that I loved seeing them included, but also some throwback outfits to when a game like this is throwing back to. Marvel Cosmic Invasion isn't a long game. A single playthrough of the story mode can take you anywhere between 3 and 5 hours depending on how good or bad you are at these types of games, and like I explained earlier, there's not a ton of mechanical depth or story depth to be found here. I think that the mechanics suit the length of the game pretty well and stop it from ever feeling too basic, but personally, I would have liked a bit of a longer game with some unlockable combo strings and extra moves to add a bit more depth. Moving on to the design of the game, it's clear to see that the game is incredibly pretty. Here we've got an old school pixel art style, but done really well so that it doesn't actually feel old and dated. All of the characters, stages, and enemies look and animate genuinely beautifully, and everything is just so satisfying to look at. The sound design is very retro. The OST here is super bombastic and feels exactly like what 90s superhero stuff did. It's probably one of my favourite things about this game. There's not really much to talk about with the level design here outside of the art. Being a 2D beat 'em up, there's not a ton of variety to the way a stage can play, but I do like that a lot of stages have unique interactables, and some do present different ideas. Moving on to the conclusion, all in all, I think Marvel Cosmic Invasion is a very successful throwback to the 90s era of superhero gaming, and is quite the fun beat 'em up. It's not a game I'd recommend to everyone. With it being so short and basic of a game, I'd only really recommend it to people who played and enjoyed these types of games from that era, or massive superhero game fans. Anyone else playing this might be able to appreciate the art and music and stylings of the game, but I ultimately wouldn't think this game is necessarily worth its price for such a short game they might only get one afternoon out of. Marvel Cosmic Invasion can be played with up to 4 players, so if you have a squad of people to play this with, then maybe consider grabbing it for a fun night with friends. For positives, we have fun and satisfying combat with a great roster of unique and varying heroes on offer. We have great art design and very retro visuals and music. Levels are unique, have a decent variety in enemies, and each level does have a really fun and engaging boss fight. Cool unlockables for completing optional challenges in the story mode that can give you more replay value in arcade mode, and a low price tag at launch that I do think is worth it if you remotely like this type of game. For negatives, we have an incredibly basic story, probably the most basic I've played in 2025, short story mode runtime, and lack of growth in game complexity as the game goes on. Ultimately, I will be giving Marvel Cosmic Invasion a score of 7.5 out of 10. I have to stress though that this is a very positive 7.5 and not a negative one at all. I am quite impressed with what this game offers, and I do really enjoy my time playing it. I just don't quite think that this game is in its final form. I think this game could work really well as a basis for a more modern and complex beat-em-up title. It was a worthwhile buy for me for sure, but I just don't feel blown away by anything here. It's just a good classic style superhero game that will leave you saying, yeah, that was fun. Tribute Games have done a great job here, and this game has really made me want to finally go and play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Maybe that can go on the 2026 list. If you've made it all the way to this part of the video, consider giving it a like and subscribe to the channel to catch more of my game reviews. Thanks for watching everyone, see ya!